I've got a sharpening accessory that completely transformed my sharpening business. This is the 48-inch Radius Platen by Razor Edge Products. And right here, my Nemesis. This is one of the fattest knives I've ever found at a thrift store. I've put some work on it, but tonight we're turning this thing into a scalpel. We're thinning it, and we should be cutting potatoes like air. All right, let's grind. Ray's Razor Edge Radius Platen is engineered to fit perfectly on the buck tool BS 242V. I'm currently a big fan of the Bora 7 belts. Here we are with a Bora Grit 60. And man, these things just chew and cut steel like none other. You can really rip through it. Super, how do I put it? A high standing grain pattern. Your knife will not heat up quickly. It will if you put a lot of pressure on it, right? But if you hold it just right, you can cut a ton of steel and avoid heating up. You can see I just kind of hover over it nice and lightly. Ooh, that first pass was so good. The idea is to grind behind the edge. We do not want an apex. That's what we're trying to avoid. This is currently what I'm trying to master at the moment. I recommend get yourself one of those Magnum Sharpies and do what I've done here. Paint the blade. In this way, you can take a look at your specific grind as you come across the knife each time. Find out if you're going too high, if you're going too low. Really is helpful. The one downside on it though, it's a little harder when the knife's blacked out to see how close that apex is getting to the belt. Or maybe it's just the way I had the lights set up. Right now, my biggest focus is my dominant hand versus my weak hand. I feel so confident on my right hand. Things go so well. But my left hand, I need to just keep putting more time and keep training it. All right, there she is. So you can see how there's still some paint along the edge here. And that's actually my goal. I don't want to thin the edge. I want to thin what's called behind the cutting edge. And from your perspective, all this silver area is behind. Now, full transparency so you guys understand, this is not the result of the last 15 minutes of grinding. I've painted over this thing probably 5 times because I'm still learning and I'm looking for the sweet spot. You know, the right position my body needs to be in, the right position the blade needs to be in, my wrists, like so many different factors. So I'll do a couple passes, maybe 3. I'll pause, I'll repaint, and I'll go over. There were many times I went too far and I ground down here. There were a couple times, maybe I'll come through on the camera, I ground up here. But I wanted to show you guys this. You know, the second half of it, I was able to really, I don't know, everything just clicked. And I was able to stay in this zone. And that's the goal. You can see at the tip though, went too far. That's not good. I need to assess and understand why that happened. Another thing, I'm way better when I'm holding the handle in my right hand than I am when I'm holding my the knife in my left hand. I'm right hand dominant, so that's probably what's happening there. Interesting, I went a little too deep here. The rest of it is actually, gosh dang, almost perfect. Probably a little too deep right here. But nonetheless, very difficult to get the camera to pick this up. Let's see if we get lucky here. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. But anyways, I was trying to show off the hollow effect of the grind. When I hold this sideways and I look at the light, it's flat and then it has that hollow edge effect. And that's what I'm going for. When I blend everything I've done, so my my hollow grind, I don't want it to be too abrupt of a step. So I like to blend it. So here, what I do, I like to blend it with the belt arm laying flat. Feels way more comfortable for me. And you notice I'm not taking the Radius Platen off of the machine. On the back side of the Radius Platen, the radius is a lot more mellow. And I'm trying to balance where the hollow grind meets the flat of the blade. And I'm just gonna blend those two together. It's actually, this is quite easy to do. It's not difficult to learn how to do this part. The most difficult part for me is when I first set the blade on the belt, I tend to dig in towards the heel a bit. And you'll see at the end, it's evident. Okay, let's profile the knife. Yeah, the blade profile on this one was all out of whack. I've been practicing on this blade for, geez, probably a year now. Yeah, this was a really ugly, just the most ugly early 90s Japanese gimmicky knife that you could buy. It's definitely transformed a lot though. And I'm excited to see what I can do with the finished product. One of these days I'm gonna put together a game plan for the handle and see if we can do something cool with that. But this will be one of those knives once it's finally finished. I never let it go and I keep it forever because I've got a ton of time on this guy. The amount of material I took off of this thing, jeez. All right, next step, we're gonna start blending this scratch pattern out. Make it look a bit nicer. We're gonna jump up to grit 120. This transition from grit 60 to grit 120 is probably the most important, in my opinion. The grit 60 can put in some super deep scratches on that blade. And if you want it to look decent when you're done, you really need to work those grit 60s out. One could argue that the grit 60 is going to improve performance, and I don't disagree with that. But I'm trying to find that balance between aesthetics and performance. So I'll put a lot of time on the 120 before I jump up to the, what are we doing here? I think this is grit 600. I don't have anything in between at the moment. Silicon carbide. This belt makes really quick work though. And you can see towards the heel there's a discolored grind, and that's just from, you know, poor posture, I guess, or poor technique, putting too much pressure towards the heel of the blade when I'm thinning. And that's just something I'm gonna have to work on and get better at with time. So just working the blade on the grit 1000, and right before, just a little bit of time on that grit 1000, that blue belt. And here we are on our final step, the conditioning belt, or the non-woven nylon. And this is gonna blend all those scratches together. Remember that gouge I was talking about towards the heel? Yeah, I'm able to hide that thing real good with this belt. Ooh, got a little hot there. Be smarter. Yeah, that was hot to the touch. That was probably 150 degrees. When you touch something and you flinch like that, that's about 150 degrees. Luckily, that's nowhere close to ruining the temper. But I had my hand over here. I would have been smarter to keep my hand right here. I'm going to let this blade cool down. Oh, I can't wait for y'all to see the finished product up close in HD at the end of this video. I removed roughly 40% of the mass behind the cutting edge. This thing came in when I met it, it was a big old fatty. But now, oh, it's starting to look real nice. No sharpening, no stropping this time. That's for the next one. And I was thinking while I was working on this, if your sharpening game is starting to kind of plateau, or even your business, you know, it's kind of getting just cruise control, or even your mind, right? And you want to take things to another level, you have to explore thinning. There's knife sharpeners, and then there's knife repair people. And repair people come in after the knife has been sharpened a bunch of times over and over. They're the guys that come in and thin the blade and get the geometry right. It's very difficult to learn on a flat platen. Trust me, I spent a lot of time banging my head against the wall trying to figure it out. And that's when Ray told me he was working on this, and he was so kind enough to gift me this. And in return, here I am doing this video, pushing him to make it available to the world at an affordable price. It's very rewarding once you take a fat knife, thin it down, and feel that cut for the first time, that slice. It's a huge difference, guys. I hope everybody gets a chance to try it. Check out Razor Edge products. Here's a picture of his site. Link in the pinned comments in the description below. Check out the final photos. Yeah, buddy, look at that. Aside from the, digging in a little bit towards the heel and kissing the handle 100 times. Oh man, I'm so proud of this one. This is the most mass I've removed from a blade. Let me be the first to tell you, don't be scared of thinning. You just need the right tools. This Radius Platen makes it so much easier. And it's not that difficult to learn. It's just like anything else. You just need time on it, and next thing you know, you're riding a bike. See ya.